If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal, and you are listening or watching, I guess is what you're doing, I hope, to Albuquerque Journal Sports Live until we come up with something better. And it is Sean Reider and I. We are in the press box at University Stadium, and there will be some football being played and, I guess, taught down below. Sean is the Journal's primary football writer. Sean, I'm going to pretty much hand this off to you and tell people what we are doing.
Geoff, thanks for having me on. Good show.
What the hell are we doing here?
Tonight, New Mexico's, obviously, their spring showcase, spring game won't be a true spring game in the sense of the word. It'll be a kind of an offense-defense showcase, go about 4 shorter quarters or so. Right now, you guys can't see it. We don't have the second camera going, but there is a kids clinic taking place on the University Stadium turf. Kind of kids going from station to station, all that. Players helping out, coaches helping out, and all that too. But today we're gonna preview the spring showcase. We're gonna really get into it, and we may or may not have a couple of interesting guests on today too that might be of note.
Richie's already. Richie is a old faithful commenter here. Richie, appreciate you for being on here.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. We will try and do this in a way. How about this? Let's throw this over here. Yeah, that's not working. Oh,
you're really big now.
Hey, how you guys doing?
You're really big.
Yep. So Geoff doesn't know how to work the third camera into the big spot yet, apparently. Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Well, apparently I do. It's just how about this? There we go. You guys aren't going to be able to see anything from this camera anyway, but hey, we're here. Richie is going to be here after work. He is so excited. Okay, so there is football that is going to be played. As of right now, though, the spring game starts at 6:30. As of right now, Sean, why don't you tell them what's going on down on the field and who's all taking part?
Yeah, so they got the kids clinic going on tonight. Before the game, that's something that Coach Jason Eck had planned well in advance. Like really, when he gave us a solid date for the spring game, said he wanted to do this, wanted to get people in the community out. It looks like a pretty healthy showing, to be honest with you. It looks like every station is filled up. I'm seeing Randolph the Pie right now, kind of working some linebacker drills. Yeah, that kid just drilled that bag. And I don't think you can really see it that well from this angle compared to at least the basketball shows. But in terms of what I'm looking to see tonight, I think I wrote a story yesterday about kind of 10 players to watch and all that too. I think there are some pretty key notables to kind of look out for tonight. Probably number one in my mind is wide receiver Keegan Johnson. He's a guy that started spring practice. He was dealing with an ankle injury, a lower body injury, and he came back the final week and a half or so, and he's been playing really, really well. I mean, he has highlighted a lot of practices. His play speed is really ridiculous when you see it up close. It does not really doesn't stand out of film. It's just that's something that you really notice when you see him live, and he's really shown out. And I'm really curious to kind of see him tonight and see what he does. I'm curious to watch quarterback James Lopestein. He has been the number one guy in that room since Blaine went down with didn't go down, but he got sidelined with kind of an elbow injury that really hasn't recovered. Kind of a weird deal. I still don't really know the timeline with him heading into summer. So he's been the one guy, and I think to be honest with you, I don't know if we've given him enough credit. Not that he's lit the world on fire, but that to this point, I mean, he's played some pretty good football, and he's shown that he is a guy that I think in my mind could step in a game. I don't know how many games he could win for you. I don't think he'll lose you a ton of games, especially with this running back group and the way his offensive line is playing too. You really like a lot of the competition on the interior offensive line right now, especially at center between Isaiah Solomon and Caden Robnett. Some interesting dynamics with tackles. Left tackle Tevin Shaw. I think he will be the left tackle when he's healthy. He's been out all spring. So Travis Gray's been getting some reps there. Elvin Harris has been getting some reps there. And on the other side, at right tackle, Novell Brown, I would look out for him tonight. He's had a pretty good spring. He's an Alabama A&M transfer. I'm just yapping right now.
Have at it.
Is there any? Do you have any questions?
Well, yeah.
I can go the next hour.
I will say I checked in with somebody to see how both mics are working just fine. It is echoey. I will tell you guys that right now we are in the most empty I've ever seen this press box without papers all over the place and game books and people, and it is kind of echoey in here. But I don't know what else to do in this room right now. Other than maybe talk a little quieter, but yeah, it's a little echoey. That's not the microphone stuff. That is just I think the room we're in. To be honest,
acoustics, I think is the term, right?
Acoustics. It is definitely a term. I was over at Isotopes Park a little earlier, doing some interviews for a story coming up, in a few days, and it was getting pretty windy over there. And I'm looking at the flagpole right now, and straight out, Zia flag, straight out. USA flag, and it is a little bit windy right now, but you look at the trees don't look like they're going crazy. So
no.
This Albuquerque spring wind situation has been pretty killer this week, but to be honest, it doesn't look like it's horrible right now, and we are inside, so it's easy for me to say. It doesn't look like it's horrible wind compared to what it's been all week. So if you're interested in coming out, you guys should still come out. There's still plenty of time. It looks like there's still some seats available in University Stadium, a few anyway. It is free. Show up. Make sure you tell parking, by the way.
Yeah, tell parking.
And frankly, well, I don't want to give you guys the hack, but there's an Isotopes game going on. You do have to pay for Isotopes parking. If you're coming to the spring game and tell them you're coming for the spring game, then you get in parking for free. I'm not going to give you the hack if you're going to the Isotopes game on what you're supposed to say, but make sure you tell them you're here for the spring game and they will not charge you for parking is the way it's supposed to be. We'll see if that's actually what they're doing or not. So you got to, of course, it's a basketball related question. I will pull it up here. Desmond72 is saying, loves the show. Question about Eric Olin's contract. Why is the bonus for a national championship so pathetic? Chances that they win a championship is so low. Why not make the bonus $1 million? It's a silly kind of counter to that, but the point is, if it's so unlikely that they're going to do it, why risk it, right? Why even make it $1 million and have to come up with $1 million to pay him? Cash in on what the ride to the national championship game is, and the odds of them making a national championship game and him not having a new contract even before that day are pretty slim. So I agree with you. It looks kind of silly, right, for UNM Lobos or even down at like New Mexico State when they do this national championship stuff. I think, if I remember correctly, Chris Jan's initial contract at New Mexico State, I might be remembering wrong, but I think Chris Jans had like a $5,000 bonus for winning a national championship, which is absurd, right? But it is what it is, right? It's probably not going to happen, and if it does, the odds of them actually still having that existing contract come national championship game are pretty slim.
Chris, congrats on the national championship. You can now buy a used Volkswagen Passat.
You can, you can now pay down some of that student loan debt that you had from years ago. But yeah, so that I don't have the specific answer to your question other than it's so unlikely that they put these clauses in there, and they'd probably be better off not putting a clause in at all. But then it would look weird that you don't have any bonus for winning a national championship. I think UNM, and I frankly don't think Eric Olin or his agent looked at that line of the contract and spent too much time on it. It probably should be $1 million. If anybody wins a national championship at UNM, that coach probably deserves on top of whatever he's getting paid, a check for another $1 million right off the bat. You're probably right. So, in terms of tonight, I will tell you guys all that I have not yet met Jason Eck. This is sort of you can kind of come up with a bunch of fake. This is the start of the Jason Eck era. There's an introductory press conference. There's a spring game. There are times you might see him around town. There are different events. When fall practice starts, you can call it that. All those kind of things. Like this is one of them. The real start of the Jason Eck era, I suppose, is when he was hired, but also then when the season starts. But this is certainly one of the first chances that the public has to see him interact with his team in some live game settings. And see some of the players. I wouldn't expect, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, I don't expect a whole heck of a lot of anybody filming this for opponents' sakes, they're probably not going to see a whole lot of the playbook tonight. It's not going to be entirely vanilla, but I would be shocked if in the spring game tonight they're pulling out a whole lot of trick plays.
Well, yeah, it's funny you actually mentioned that. I talked with offensive coordinator Luke Schlesinger this week, and he said we got about 70% of the offense in, we have no trick plays in. So literally, you will not see a trick play tonight unless they put something in. On Thursday when I wasn't watching or paying attention during practice, they put something in during a meeting. But I would not expect that either. And I don't think it's. I think it is. I think year one, you're breaking in a ton of new personnel. You're getting them up on a pro style scheme and all that too. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're really worried about being too vanilla or anything like that. I think they want to go out there, they want to rep their stuff, and they want to get into it. And to my understanding, I mean, really, this era. Now, like guys like Matt Rule in Nebraska and Lincoln Riley at USC, why they canceled the spring game is more or less because they're worried about that being televised and their players getting poached. But I think now,
yeah, we got a guest. I just realized he texted me to ask me exactly where we were, and I did not answer him until he's standing right next to me, and then I answered him. So, Jaylen, why don't you come join us here? We do have a couple guests tonight. We're going to actually give a test run to this microphone here even. I hope, Jaylen, you can hear us just fine. You don't have headsets, but we don't really need them. We can hear us. Jaylen, first of all, welcome.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. Let's make sure I have a microphone on for you here.
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you now. Okay, so I want to make sure I get the title right, and I even pulled up the directory to make sure I get it right. Deputy Athletic Director / Chief Revenue Officer. Jaylen, what the heck does that title mean?
I think that means I got to go out and find some.
Yeah, right, pretty much, right. What is the objective right now? What is an event like a spring game? Like, what is the objective football specific for UNM athletics right now? And kind of what does that mean for the fans? Like, how can you tell them what they can do right now, football specific, to help out?
Yeah, a spring game like this. We're sitting here overlooking the kids' clinic. I'm watching my son out there run around. He's the only one wearing a helmet. So if you see him out there, he's the only kid wearing a helmet to a clinic. But it's special for me to have that. And that's what the goal is for the rest of the community as well. This should be a connection. The big part of what we do at Lobo Athletics, it's not just about what we're doing for our programs. While clearly that's a focus, it's about the ability we have in the platform to have this community connect with each other and connect with us. So I'm sitting here watching these kids run around. I'm looking at the fans in the stands, and what we're hoping for is that connection's created that makes them in the fall want to come back out and be in this building and support the Lobos throughout the season. So it's not so much even just about donations or buying tickets, although that is available today for everyone. It's about connecting with our team, connecting with this community, and prepping for what's going to be hopefully a very exciting fall.
Let me ask you, I'll put you on the spot. You tell us all the very specific numbers that you've gotten, okay? I'm kidding. But how much does an NCAA tournament run, a new coach, all the newness and excitement that's been around? Like, I know there's people worried too, right? I mean, Bronco leaves, there's some worry. Patino leaves, there's some worry. But it all kind of coincided with like 3 months of like excitement about newness. How does that work with fundraising, and how does that work with what you guys are doing? Does it help? Does the worry overreach all that and kind of hurt? Like, how does the last 3 months of really unique, I guess, excitement, but also anxiety around athletics work?
Yeah, transition is hard, and while we can say it's natural and a part of our industry, just like many others, it doesn't mean it doesn't come with some difficulty and some pain for our fans, and we never want them to be in a point of concern, worry, or anxiety. But to be honest, Geoff, I would take that over indifference. The fact that they have concerns shows that they care, and what the type of couple months we've had. What it does allow us for is an amazing platform to have a conversation of how to continue to build and succeed and have stability. We're very fortunate that we were able to go out and find high character, high quality coaches. And when we talk to the community, I continue to reinforce that what our job is to invest in the foundation and the structure of these programs that allows them to be successful into the future. And for us to have the ability in these moments of transition to go out and recruit high level coaches. So what this community can do is it gives a great platform, the transition, for that conversation of how do we ensure that, well, we can't always dictate the ceiling. We can dictate the floor. And whether that's competing with our peers in the conference, regionally, nationally, and past the postseason, a lot of eyes have come to our program over the last few months and have been able to tell us a really good story about exactly what we've built over the last several years that has led us to this point and what we can do now to ensure that the future is very bright.
what is the perception of UNM athletics in terms of just the boosters here that you talk with, the donors, the people in the Lobo Club? What is their perception of things right now? But I'm curious too. You were at least somewhat involved, right, in the basketball search. It sounds like all you guys played a part in this basketball search. What was the perception from the candidates and the search firms and the agents of what this program overall is right now?
Yeah, it's one hell of a job. I was very fortunate that, both in our football and basketball search, alongside Fernando Lobo, got to be directly involved in the room. And
so you were with them too?
I was with both. Okay. I got to be in both searches. And what I can say is I was involved not quite as deeply when we hired Coach Patino. I was with Eddie Nunez and Dave Williams when we hired Patino. There was a lot of interest in the job for basketball at that point. It didn't even compare. It's not even close to the interest that we had now. And that's because of the reputation nationally as a brand we have for our building to be full, our fans, our community to truly care and embrace the program. And the reality is the way in a very short period of time, we, compared to most, have been able to be extremely aggressive in providing resources for our coaches to use in terms of roster retention through the efforts of the Lobo Alliance, the Lobo Club, 505 SVF, and Kurt Roth. So our reputation was great. We almost had to unplug our phones because they were ringing so much. We had a chance to be pretty selective, but the level of candidate this go around versus before, we were fortunate to get an amazing coach like Richard Patino, but the depth of the pool this year, it was amazing.
I'm curious too, when you talk about the resources that this program has that make it attractive, we're about to, if the House settlement ever gets actually finalized, we're about to be in a rev sharing era of college athletics. Is New Mexico still kind of at the forefront? When NIL first started, Kurt Roth jumped on right away, and in the Mountain West, UNM, Kurt Roth, yourself, certainly a huge part of it. UNM led the way. Some other schools have kind of caught up. That doesn't mean UNM's still not either leading the way or at the front with a couple others. Maybe, I don't know if they've caught up entirely. But the point is, some other people have been able to at least close the gap a little bit. With this new era about to start, is only having a Kurt Roth available going to be enough? Like, what can UNM do to still be ahead of people, or does this limit the ability to get ahead and to put a gap between other Mountain West schools?
It absolutely does not put a limit in our ability to get ahead and create that gap. If we didn't have Kurt started, I'm not sure where we would be. Just being very honest. Kurt didn't do what he did a few years ago and making a decision that he was going to not just put his money, but his time and his energy and his heart behind this program. I don't know where we're at, but to say Kurt did it alone would be disingenuous to the amazing group that's jumped in and supported. When we look into this community of the way over the last few years that they've embraced the change, and the change hasn't been easy, right? It's uncomfortable. But the way I've described it with our business community and our donors that I think we've rallied around is you look over an extended period of time, it's no secret that Lobo Athletics has had some gaps in the resources, from facilities to operational budgets, whatever else it might be compared to peers back in the WAC, when it was Utah, TCU, whoever it might be, and currently to those that may have gone to the Pac-12 or currently in that transitional process. The way I viewed it, the way Kurt viewed it, and the way our community viewed it is it's very rare in an industry that a new starting line's created. And with NIL, now revenue share, it's a moment of differentiation. And we've rallied around our community and told them that there will, again, on the other side of this, be those who are able to embrace, adapt, and thrive in this model and those who aren't. It's our chance to be on the right side of it. And that has, I think, led to a large-scale investment that has had clear separation from our peers. When you look into the new revenue share world, we haven't stopped a bit in terms of being innovative and aggressive. The House settlement, while we expect and hope that it goes through, I can tell you this: we have a plan, no matter what the final verdict is, to ensure that we're a leader, not just in the Mountain West, but regionally and nationally, with our structure, our approach, and our aggression to ensure that we're providing the resources that are going to be efficient. People don't usually use the word efficient with NIL, what the crazy is going on, but efficient.
It doesn't seem very efficient right now, especially if you're just following it on social media. Efficient isn't a word you see very often.
But it's direct, right? It's tangible, and we can make an immediate impact on these programs that can separate during this time of separation. And so we plan on not just hopefully keeping that lead, but widening that gap with whatever happens in the settlement.
Hey, we're at a spring football game. Let me get a football-specific question for you. After this, if Sean has anything, I don't know that he does. I told him I would take care of this one. So
You're covering a lot of bases right now.
Football-specific here. When you talk to donors who have been here forever and know, frankly, some of them that know a lot more about the history of this program than you and I do, they've not seen football rise to the level that it needs to be to get those invites to other conferences. They know that this has been a struggle to get this going consistently. Current donors already in the house, they're still donating to the Lobo Club, or they're still a part of this. Do they have optimism that football can get right? And when you're bringing in new donors, are they concerned that, like, am I donating to a program where football is never going to just get right? How much of a concern of getting football right is it with your donors?
Yeah. Obviously, that's a conception that's out there. And the reality is I don't think people think that our donors just think that we can make football successful here. They believe it. We're not the only ones running a Division I football program right around the country. And so it's not that we're doing this alone and there's not other people that we can have comparatives and context against. Investment equals outcome. And I think the business community has done that in their private walks of life. And so as we look at what we all know to be true, that this can succeed, and will, if invested in appropriately. I think it's more for our field and my field, to be honest, is it's when, not if. And we truly believe that this stadium can be full and these teams can be successful. But if and only if we're all behind him investing appropriately, because there is clearly a correlation between an investment and an outcome. And we look at how much has been invested in this program historically, and then you compare it to ticket sale numbers. Let's look at how much has been invested in some of our other programs and the correlation to their ticket sale numbers, to their success. This program absolutely can, and I believe will be successful. And those who are close to it, who see the hard work, the dedication that's going into building this program, and also it's very important seeing the belief, not just from their peers, but the investment from the state, as we just saw through the appropriations, investment from our leaderships on campus. It's starting to spread. And so it's not going to be long before that catches and everyone starts to get on that belief. And those results are going to start to happen on Saturdays.
Jaylen, I'm going to let you get out of here after one last round of quick rapid fire questions.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen Sean and I do any of these, but Sean Reider has never eaten a grape. He's never eaten a blueberry, and he's never had cotton candy, and never even heard of hot fries until he got to New Mexico.
Oh, that's right. It's a regional thing. I'm a Midwest guy.
Okay, so we'll keep it to the cotton candy, grape, and blueberry. What makes him the weirdest? That he's never had a grape, a blueberry, or cotton candy?
Grape in any form?
No, never had a grape.
He's had
Not
wine.
one. No, I've had a good amount of wine. No, never a
A good
grape.
amount of wine right before you came on air today.
Yeah, I'm going cotton candy. I mean, I think that's just kind of like something you have to check the box in of childhood.
Right?
You know,
I think so,
state
right?
fairs, whatever else. I think you can kind of almost have to walk into that at some point, right?
What are they big like elephant ears or whatever? That was like my state fair kind of.
Elephant ears.
Yeah. Like the fried dough and the powdered
Do they have
sugar.
those at the New Mexico State Fair?
I've never been to
Not
the Mexican
seen anyone
State Fair. I mean,
You're talking to a couple of Mexico guys. I mean, we had some.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to make some plans for September.
Right? You guys are gonna have to get them some grapes in September and some cotton candy,
Walk
obviously.
to that state fair.
But yes, like I don't remember elephant ears. I'll tell you what. Like, so I was born and raised in Santa Fe, and down at the plaza they have festivals all the time, 10 a year or something. And man, like Indian tacos and fry bread, like those are the fair food I kind of think of that's regional. And I'll bet you don't have too many Indian tacos in Michigan State Fair, do you?
we did not have Indian tacos in Frankenmuth, Michigan. I will tell you that. That was
All right, we got to come up with something this year where I don't know that it's a bet necessarily. He still has to cover the team, and if they do bad, he still writes that. If they do good, he writes that. Whatever. But I want something on the line where Lobo football does X, Sean eats a grape. Now, but then if Lobo football doesn't, then we need somebody in the Lobo club or administration to then do something. We got to come up with something.
My next cup of coffee would be my first ever, and people give me a weird eye.
Really?
Okay. But I also am going to talk to our concessionaire. I think grapes and cotton candy are going to become a staple in our press room moving forward. In fact, it might be the only until everyone tries it. Then we can diversify.
I like it, Jaylen.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to eat a lot more before games.
You know, the weird thing is, he went blueberry picking with his mom when he was a kid. His mom emailed me after one of these shows where I was giving him a hard time. Said, just so you know, he was exposed to grapes. He was exposed to blueberries. Like, it wasn't that we kept him from fruits and vegetables, and he just didn't eat it. And sure enough, he actually went blueberry picking and didn't want to be there. So he, out of spite,
I wanted to be showing up the boys, man. I was like 10 years old. He doesn't
eat blueberries now. And he stuck with it.
I respect the commitment.
I respect the commitment. No coffee. That's really impressive.
Jaylen, I'll let you go with anything else you want to say. Anything you want to say about state of Lobo athletics that you think people should know?
I think people should know that our structure, our foundation is strong. Our leaders are high character, innovative, and aggressive. And nobody wants this place to be more successful than our coaches, our administration, and our student athletes. And not only are we confident in the direction it's going, that we're going to achieve the result, we're going to do it the right way that's going to make New Mexico proud. And we're grateful for the support that we get and excited for this upcoming year.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, that was Jaylen Dominguez. Our first guest of the big night, big evening? Yes, evening.
I think that's fair.
And we got Sean on the big screen right now. Let me put the screen back on over here.
You want to rip through a couple of these questions real quick?
Yeah, what do we got?
We have another guest in about 5 minutes as well. I will probably have to hop off to make sure they're good.
All right. Good football equals more funding, period, for UNM. That is true. UNM Hospital, everything investing in UNM is investing in the state of New Mexico. That is true. Frank has something here. That was from X. Let's see. Frank on YouTube. Are we, UNM, not getting the full support from our state leaders? Also, I apologize. These are things that I should have had when Jaylen was still here. I can tell you that the state just gave UNM and NMSU more money than they did last year. Capital outlay was more on the UNM side. I know UNM does a little more lobbying than NMSU does in athletics, and there are more lawmakers with slush fund money basically to give to capital outlay in Bernalillo County and within a 5 to 10 minute drive of UNM's campus, and not the same at NMSU. There is some reality to those things. I know I'm an NMSU grad, and I can tell you for years, this has been a big kind of point of contention with Aggie fans is, why does UNM get more? First of all, there's nothing written anywhere that says the two schools are supposed to get the same amount. It doesn't have to, it's not equal in other states, but there's a notion here that it should be equal. So going on that notion, I would point out that the capital outlay is where the big differences are. The state appropriations are generally, if not equal, within a few $100,000 when we're talking several $1 million of appropriations to both schools. The revenue growth and revenue generation at UNM is much larger than the revenue generation of NMSU. Unfortunately for Aggie fans, there's some reality to that. But the biggest thing that I had come to realization as a Aggie student, and then NMSU fan before I was here, and certainly took off my fandom hat. I can't be a fan of any kind anymore, right? What you have to realize is when there are, I don't know what the number is, but let's say 50 lawmakers within a 10-minute drive of UNM's campus, there's a whole lot of lunches year-round telling lawmakers, look, if we get this would help us. NMSU doesn't have that same luxury, and there's some byproduct of that. It may not be what NMSU fans want to hear, but there is, when it comes to capital outlay money, there's some reality to the fact that there's a whole lot more lawmakers who control those purse strings. And Frank is here than there are in New Mexico State. That's part of it. Part of it, too, is that there's a whole lot more lobbying going on with UNM. And for years, there's been a whole lot more asking at UNM for more capital outlay than there has been at NMSU. So without further ado and without more talk of
we have our second guest tonight.
Sir.
Linebacker Jackson Eck, son of head coach Jason Eck. Jackson, how are we doing tonight, man?
You're good. How are you?
All right, this is Geoff Grammer.
Nice to meet you. I was just saying earlier, I have not met any of the X. I am I'm not Sean. I don't do the football. I primarily do basketball here, but I do a lot of Lobo and UNM coverage. So nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice
I see
to
a lot
meet
of
you.
your tweets on Twitter.
Yeah, I spend a little bit of time on the old social media. That is true. I'm going to start off. I'm going to let Sean take over most of this, but I'm going to start off right away with. It's one thing for a coach to come in and say all the right things, right? I see Fernando was in here just a second ago. So even the boss man's in here. We don't want to say anything horrible, but like it's one thing for him to come in and say, I love this place. You're new here.
Yeah.
What is it like for a new college age football player, student to come to Albuquerque, New Mexico? What's the initial thought of what you've been through for the last 2-3 months now?
Yeah, it's been a cool, unique new experience. I've lived a lot of my life in like the West, and then a little bit in Idaho.
Sean too.
So,
Nice.
This is a new like landscape and everything, but I've enjoyed it a lot. It's been great.
There's a Midwest question, and I'm going to ask right off the bat. First of all, Sean,
He's upper Midwest. I'm like lower.
so maybe a little different.
Where are you?
I'm Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah. So Eastern Midwest? That's not a thing.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I'm born in Santa Fe, went to school in Las Cruces, live in Albuquerque now. I haven't gotten around too much. So, first of all, Sean has never had a grip in his life.
Never had
I mentioned hot fries in the office once. He didn't know what I was talking about. Do you know what hot fries are?
I do not.
Vindicated. Midwest guys. We just don't do that. We just don't do that.
What are hot fries?
So it's basically you've probably seen like the Chester Cheetah version of
Are
like
Takis considered hot fries?
Taki kind of no, but
No,
they're similar to
they're
Takis.
an offshoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hot fries are basically like they look like French fries, but they have how flaming hot everything now.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that even before before flaming hot was a thing. But it's basically just I thought it was chips that were everywhere. I guess not. I guess it is just a sort of a Southwest or New Mexico thing. But
Gotcha.
you're not off the hook for grapes and blueberries. You're still weird for that. He's never had cotton candy.
Never had cotton candy.
I've had cotton candy.
All right. We'll ask a little more football specific stuff here. Pretty cool thing going on here.
Yeah.
You've probably been a part of camps and stuff like this. Your life is a member of a football family, right?
No doubt.
How important is stuff like this?
I think it's a really cool experience for just kids to, meet some of the guys they cheer on Saturdays and just get connected with them. It makes them not feel like strangers or like, I don't know, like an unthinkable thing. Like, I think it gives kids dreams about one day playing. I know I always went to all these camps growing up as a coach's kid, and I thought college football players were the coolest thing.
Yeah, you probably when you're 8, 9 years old and that one guy 64 or whatever who I don't you don't even realize that like he's never playing, but you just see him and you're like, that's my favorite player.
For sure. Yeah,
And that's
special connections with different players.
I did what we talked. I think the very first week of spring practice. Since that point, I mean, what have you seen? In terms of not just like kind of the defense coming together and developing, but just kind of the program as a whole at this point.
Yeah, I think we've made a lot of great strides. Obviously, specifically for defense, I think we've taken a lot of steps through each practice. And I think there's growing pains with learning a new defense. Like not every day is going to be perfect, but I think we've consistently stacked days and been on an upward trajectory, so that's really exciting.
Elijah Brody's a local kid, and he was a guy that honestly, like, I wasn't even thinking of, honestly, at the start of spring practice in terms of playing linebacker and all that, too. And he's he's stepped up past couple weeks to get some run for ones and all that, too. He's up to like 225. He's pretty big right now. What have you seen out of Elijah in particular?
I've been really impressed with him. He's been a guy that, I've just spent a lot of time with, like, trying to help him out just because I have experience playing linebacker. And he has a lot of potential. He's really good-looking kid, but as in like big dude.
Exactly.
He can fill out more than what he already.
He's got the frame to it.
Yeah. No, and he's when you don't have that much experience, you have so much room to grow, and he's gotten so much better over the last few practices. So, yeah, definitely really excited.
The linebacker room is kind of interesting because obviously you're in it. You've had a lot of experience, playing right now and all that. Like obviously you haven't been playing the spring and all that, but you're expected to be good for summer and fall and all that too. Demetri, guys who played a ton of football. Randolph, who played a ton of football last year and all that too. What are the personalities like in the linebacker room?
It's a great group of guys. I think a lot, like you said, a lot of different personalities. Like a lot of guys coming from different areas. Like you got me and Randolph from South Dakota. Yeah. And we got Meach from Cali and some local guys from New Mexico. But a lot of just down to earth guys, good guys. And yeah, really excited about our group.
For those that are listening and have not seen anything from him, I think, and no offense to your dad, I think Coach Nowinski, the defensive coordinator, Spence Nowinski, is my favorite coach in the staff to talk to. During, you talk to him off the field, and he is the nicest guy. He's also a Midwest guy, Wisconsin guy, thick Wisconsin accent. And you get him on the field, you get him on a headset, and that guy is spitting fire. It is kind of insane. What is it like, playing under a guy like Coach Nowinski? Yeah,
he's really a fun guy to play for. I'd say, like you said, he's really fiery when he's coaching, but it's all out of love. Like the things he says, it from good heart. He cares about all his players. And I think he's like the definition of a player coach. I feel like he gets everyone to play hard. He just knows the right things to say to get a group motivated. And he's also just cracks jokes. He's a fun guy to be around.
Can we repeat anything that he says on the field?
I will point at this end zone, the Saturday scrimmage. I think it was, I don't remember who was in on, it was right before the safety during the Saturday scrimmage. And it was right before that, and Nowinski was just yelling into the headset, blow the whistle, blow the whistle, blow the whistle, blow the whistle. And just at the refs and all that too, which was funny. I meant to ask you the first time we talked, obviously you're a defensive guy. Your dad is a well-established offensive guy. How did that kind of come into play, and what is that like?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just always growing up, I liked defense more. I liked tackling and hitting people. I remember in Wii football, I like being a D tackle because you could just shoot the gaps.
Nice,
I'm very good. So I just always preferred defense. I liked offense too, but I think it's kind of nice to be on separate sides of the ball more, just kind of be on our own. But I've learned a lot from him about the game, and
do you find that that's benefiting you more than maybe if you were growing up the son of a defensive coordinator or a linebackers coach, having a dad kind of immerses you to a certain degree and this is how offensive linemen handle this, and this is how they do this protection, how it plays out.
No, I think it gives you a different insight, understanding blocking schemes, what they're trying to do. I remember when I was in middle school, my dad couldn't come to all the games, but he'd have someone film it and he'd go over every play with me. But just getting that unique coaching, someone that has so much knowledge for football, really helped me for sure.
You're breaking down film as 7th and 8th grade?
It was a lot. But I wasn't very good in middle school. I got a lot better from it.
We do have a reader sending in a question here. Aztec to Tacoma. How are the facilities compared to Idaho? What's the facility difference?
Obviously, the QB Dome was really cool.
I've been there.
Cool aspect.
I've covered the game there.
When did you go to the Dome?
When I covered New Mexico State. Back when they were in the WAC. Way back when. 2005.
Okay.
So I'm only still in 12 years.
So that is a cool venue. But I'd say all the other extra facilities, having your own weight room here, having specific meeting rooms for each position group. We didn't have that at Idaho. I remember we were in an old woman's locker room. Because the basketball team used to play there, so it was an old woman's basketball locker room.
The Kippy Dome looks kind of like the indoor practice facility from the outside. On the inside, it's pretty awesome, though. I mean, I will say, not that it's not awesome inside the indoor practice facility, but the Kippy Dome is pretty dang cool.
Yeah, the Kippy Dome is a really cool environment. But overall, everything we have here is top notch. It's been awesome.
I will ask there is actually another question here. He also asked, how do you feel about the talent and progress of defense this spring? You've kind of covered that a little bit, linebacker specific, but what's the progress been for the defense?
Yeah, I'd say defense as a whole, we have a lot of really experienced guys that have played a lot of football. Maybe not all just here, but like he said, Meach and Randolph have a lot of experience at linebacker. But then we got Brawley from Ohio, played under Coach Nowinski. So he has a lot of experience with college football. Both our corners, Abe and John Johnson, played a lot at the FCS level. We're really good players. So I think every position group, we have a lot of guys who played a lot, and I think that's really beneficial for us.
I do want to – this is something I'd ask a couple of other guys as well. Obviously, you're a guy that, really, you played really well at the FCS level at Idaho. Abe is a guy that played really well at the FCS level at Idaho. And then we played too, actually.
Yeah.
Scott Humphrey obviously played really well at the FCS level in Idaho. And even though, a guy like Scott Trey has offers from North Carolina and West Virginia and, Virginia Tech, in addition to New Mexico and all that too, when you bring in FCS guys, there is an element of he's an FCS guy. Can he compete at the FBS level? Do you guys ever I don't know if you guys ever talk about it, but is that something you guys that puts a little chip on your shoulder to a certain degree?
I'd say it definitely does. I feel like a lot of FCS guys too, especially a lot of guys that are FCS that were underlooked in high school. They were kind of not recruited as heavily. So I think it definitely brings a chip on our shoulder. And I think every time we played FBS teams, it gave that added edge to us. But I'm just excited to go out and prove myself. I'm sure a lot of other guys are excited to go prove themselves next year.
Kind of an offshoot of asking to become a very loyal listener. Kind of offshoot of this question on that too. It's a 4-2-5 base, but I know you guys really want to be multiple and all that too. And I know the star and the jack, like you kind of feel a lot of that multiplicity.
Yeah.
Multiple have you guys been able to go at this point?
Yeah, I think Coach Spence does a nice job of mixing up looks, mixing up what we're giving the offense, especially with the fronts. We move the front around a lot, which I know is really hard for offensive lines. In protection, also in the run game, just to pick up all the different movements. So I'm not going to give away too much. But I really like what we got cooking for sure.
I got a coach's son question specific. Do you feel pressure when you're a coach's son to prove that you're not just there because you're a coach's son? And do you feel pressure to look? He's new here, right? He's coming up from the FCS to the FBS level, and everyone's like, okay, what's he going to do? Do you feel pressure to prove that he's a good coach, but more so, do you feel pressure to prove that you belong on the team without being related to the coach?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some pressure that comes with that. I think you kind of got to prove yourself to everyone because there's kind of that mantra, oh, he's just the coach's kid, daddy's ball, all that stuff. So, there is a little bit of pressure, but I embrace it. I think it kind of fuels me. I don't look at it as a negative thing. I kind of just use that to motivate me to give everything I have. And I think for the team, you just got to prove yourself every day.
Yeah.
Like prove it by your actions, the way you work, go about your business. And I haven't had any problems with, earning respect of all my teammates that I've ever had.
That said, through the years, I imagine there's been some times where you got to get a hard time in the locker room sometimes about getting home to dinner with dad now.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. There's jokes, but I feel like I have pretty thick skin.
Yeah.
I know it just comes with that. But I'm also lucky to be in this position, to have my family so close, have my dad at every game. So, I just kind of embrace it.
I did think it was pretty cool that the moving truck.
Yeah.
The Lobo football moving truck was a nice stuff. So I actually, no joke, I sent Ryan Berryman a text. I'm like, was this part, did you guys make them use the Lobo equipment truck or what? And Ryan told me, no, the moving company who sponsors the moving truck for the equipment truck, that's their truck. And that you guys rented from them, but you guys didn't even actually know, or you didn't request the Lobo football truck per se. That's what they sent up there to help with the move.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was kind of weird.
No, yeah. My mom loved it though.
Did she?
Social media, so she had it rolling out of Moscow and rolling into town. So that was cool.
That is, that's kind of surreal. I will say that's something I've never experienced. Not a whole lot of people have experienced the Lobo football equipment truck bringing in the
going through the neighborhood.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Sean, I'll ask one more, and then I'll let Sean kind of close this out with you. What would success in year one be in your mind? That's stuff we ask coaches all the time. They never put a number on wins. Yeah. They don't say championships. They don't want to oversell or overpromise. But I'm curious what success in a player's mind is in year one.
Yeah, I think our biggest thing that we've been talking about is just go to a bowl, go win a bowl. Yeah. Just hasn't been done in a decent amount of years here. So I think that's kind of our big focus. But, we're not going to put any limits on ourselves. We said in our meeting the other day, we can be as good as we want to be with the changing landscape. Every team's changing every year. It's wide open. So we just got to go take it. So we're excited for the challenge. We have a pretty tough schedule. But, we believe we can go to a bowl this next year.
I'll let Sean close it up.
Geoff is not covering the team day to day, so he's allowed to kind of hit on some of those big picture questions. I'm going to ask you, what's a success for the team, and for the defense in particular, look like tonight, the spring game?
I think just keep making strides, just keep doing a good job of doing our assignments. Obviously, we're for the team, so we're trying to protect our team, kind of be smart with this game. So it's not like the full thing. Not both teams are going to call all their plays. But I think just, keep everyone healthy and then just have a clean night of football.
And you might have said this when you first started. Health-wise, we're all good? Where are we at?
Yeah, for me, I'm doing good. I'm almost back.
You're almost back. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a reason you're here right now with us.
Yeah.
And you're not down there running around. So
I'm almost 4 months out of surgery.
Okay.
Should be back for the first day of summer work.
And you'll be playing opening game.
Yep. Feeling good.
All right, there we go.
Ready to go.
Jackson, thank you so much for coming on.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, as always.
Nice meeting you.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Just here. I'll take it. Sweet. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, there you go. Now 5:48. We got in about 7 minutes or so. Actually, he's around here, we can get him on a little early. But we've got Fernando Lobo, the new athletic director. I still say new. It's great. He's hired a football coach. He's hired a basketball coach. He's
moved his family out here.
All kinds of stuff.
He drove the U-Haul, which is unbelievable. He drove the U-Haul from Austin to Albuquerque.
A trailer. I thought it was the U-Haul truck. They had a trailer hitched up to their car, but it was a U-Haul trailer.
Okay.
That they got towed behind their.
The trailer might be even a little trickier.
Well, especially in that wind, man.
Yeah.
Wreaking havoc on the road. But anyway, Fernando Lobo will be joining us soon. Send us your questions. Look, there's a question right here that came in right as we were signing off. Sean, maybe you can answer. What's on the screen now? We got Keno asking on YouTube. Who's the Lobo back on defense?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? So the Lobo back is kind of, if I think I'm interpreting this question, Keno correctly, and I believe Keno is the brother of Tyler Keeney. If I'm interpreting this question correctly, I think you're referring to kind of like the nickel. That is like they call that the star, the nickel star in this defense in particular, and that is excuse me, I'm getting thrown off. That is Albert Nunez. So he plays up a lot, and he has a lot of different responsibilities in the run and pass game. If you saw his tape coming out of Northern Iowa, they lined him up at the edge, they lined him up in the slot, they lined him up in the back end. I mean, he did a lot of different stuff. So he's got a perfect skill set there. We like to get on.
We've got our guest.
Don't let me stop you. They want to hear you talk ball more than they want to hear
really?
me.
Are
So
you sure about that?
I'm absolutely positive. Yeah, 100%.
All right, we got our guest here. Keno's asking Sean some football-specific questions, but you're about to get. I hope that seat feels hot because you're on the hot seat.
I love
it.
Let's go. It is a little warm, to be honest.
Yeah, well, Jackson's was just there. For those that don't know, this is Fernando Lobo, who is now on month 4 on the job, and all he's done so far is hire a football coach, hire a basketball coach, lobby up in Santa Fe, move your family. I'm sure there's about 3 or 4 other things that normally would be points high on the list, but that pretty much covers the main bullets, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, no doubt. And my kiddos were down there running around like crazy at the kids clinic, but no, the Lobos are here. They're in Albuquerque, and you're right. I didn't expect the things that have occupied those top bullet points to be there, but here we are, and it's been a great 4.5 months, and I'm excited to finally watch some football.
Kiddos running around, wife's here, obviously. Let's start with the non-UNM stuff. What's the family been over the past month? Because it's been about a month now, right?
It has, yeah. No, it's been great. You know, we I think I said on your podcast, we packed up a car and had a U-Haul trailer and made the 17-hour trek from Austin to Albuquerque. There wasn't much in between, but we bonded, I would say, in the car, and we got here. And
dog in the back, right?
Dog in the back. Yeah, we were Winston. Yeah, Winston. It's been an adjustment for him. The altitude is when I take him for walks, I see him struggling a little bit, but we love it here. I mean, we absolutely love it here. My parents are here from Miami, and they're mentioning, hey, we might look at a place out here. I said, I told you, that's why they call it the land of entrapment. Did you come here and you see what it's all about? But we love it. We're so happy. Our kids are in school. They're having a blast. So couldn't be happier, and look forward to settling in our new home.
It's interesting because Eric Olin's mother-in-law was here for his introduction.
Yeah.
And I actually talked with her a little bit. It sounds like they might try and, they don't know Albuquerque well enough yet to know for sure, but they'll probably move out here. They have a place in San Diego and back in Alabama.
Yep.
So this is what I guess some of the outsiders that come in sometimes to be AD or coach, like they realize it's a pretty cool place.
It's a great place. Yeah. I mean, it's a great place. I think it's a great place to raise a family. I mean, there's so much to do. The people here are terrific. And, if you like being outdoors, which we do, I mean, you can't beat it. The weather, even the wind, the wind blows and we love it. So we embrace it. We're happy to be here. And as I told you on the podcast,
I promise, this phone has been the worst ever, but it's not always this windy. No,
it's good. I mean, growing up in Miami, I thought the breeze. I felt the breeze from the ocean.
Right.
This is not the breeze. This is the full blown wind gust. So I'm used to it now.
All right, football specific. Yeah. Look, I asked Jaylen this. I'll ask you the same. The pressure to get football right, it's not a secret.
Mm-hmm.
It puts this university as a whole, athletic department specifically as a whole, in so much better of a position when football specifically gets right.
Yeah.
How close is football to getting whatever right is? I mean, look, I'm not saying national championship right.
Yeah.
Whatever right is, how close is UNM to getting football right here?
Yeah, I think it's closer than most people think. And I think we should all be excited about what football at UNM is going to look like in the future. I mean, Bronco did a great job last year. They just missed a bowl game. They were competitive in all the games pretty much that they played. And he set a really good foundation for what football should be here. And, you go back and you look at the history books. Yeah, there's been, periods of a struggle, but there's also been periods of sustained success. And you can't say that for every program. So the pathway's there. And I think, and I'm sure Jaylen mentioned this, but it all comes down to investment. Are you investing what you need to invest to be successful? Because Lobo Nation has high expectations for all of our sports, inclusive of football. And, I always believe that if your investment doesn't match your expectations, and you really have no chance. And so, credit to Eddie and Dave and everyone that's come before me. They've made football a priority. They've made investing in football something that they talk about, and certainly I will as well. And it is important for us perception-wise, and it's important for us financially. We need, and I say we, I mean us as an administration, we need to do our part to get people in the stadium. We need University Stadium to be filled on Fridays or Saturdays, because when we do that, not only will it help us win, but it'll help elevate our department, because obviously from a revenue perspective, but just having stands be full, showing pictures, being on TV, it solidifies what we all know we are here at UNM, and that's a damn good athletics program that's building a really good football team.
I will say that you complimented Bronco and what he kind of built. Yeah. Complimented it on the podcast. You also said some nice things about Patino. You got to stop, man. You can't keep saying nice things about the guys that are gone. It helps the fan base get riled up a little bit if you throw everybody that left under the bus as much as you can.
You know what? I learned Coach Meyer always would say to me, whenever you come into a place, you'll know quickly how the people that came before you left it. And I learned very quickly that all those that have come before me really have left New Mexico in a good place. And I'm so fortunate to have that and to have that foundation. And, I certainly hope to build on it. But no, I get it. It gets them riled up. But I'd be remiss if I didn't thank those that came before me.
I'm going to let Sean get a question in here after I read a couple reader comments here. Richie Flores, who is a regular and a football fan, he on YouTube is saying it feels good to be back at the stadium. So he's out. Richie, it sounds like you're here. You made it from work. Richie is one of your big time fan favorites here. We got Rich Green saying, what kind of home attendance numbers are you projecting this season? Do you put a number that you're willing to share, or what?
Yeah, last year we averaged right around 15,000 a game, and I will say we have a really, really good home schedule this year. Obviously we've got New Mexico State at home, and I think some folks might have the Utah State game circled.
Might be interested.
Not sure why.
But they like playing the Aggies here.
Yeah. That's absolutely. That's exactly. I understand that. I come from a state that enjoyed playing the Aggies as well, but my previous life. So
you got two of them this year.
Yeah, I get it. But for me, what I want to do rather than focus on setting a number is I really, really want to do some creative things to get not just Lobo graduates, but people of New Mexico to want to come to a game. When we play on Friday or Saturday, I want people to look at their calendar and say, hey, you know what? We got a chance to go watch a Lobo football game. Let's go do it, because the concession prices are fair. The parking is good. You're not waiting in lines forever. And I've got some ideas I don't want to share quite yet because we're still working through them, but we have to be different. We want to create an environment where people in New Mexico, whether you live in the north part or the south, wherever it is, that part of your weekend is to come to a Lobo football game. And when we do that, the numbers will reflect that. And so where we were last year, 15,000, certainly I'd like to be above that. And I think there's a lot of things we can do as an administration to help with that.
Two more quick ones here. Rich Green, who just asked the home attendance question, did want to tell you we met at the men's game in Fresno. It was great meeting you. So one of the people you met in Fresno who asked that question. 505 Lobo on YouTube is saying, can we get red turf, please?
Ooh, red turf.
Any thought about red turf?
I have not thought about that, but that would be something that'd be tough to get used to. I think
something.
I would not be happy with red turf. I would be pretty upset.
I'm going to get a rendering, and I'm going to put it out for Lobo Nation to vote. Red turf, yay or nay? Let's see. We'll see what the percentages say.
Richie also adds, hear me out. What if we change the name from University Stadium to the Den?
That's not a bad idea. I like that. I got to come on this more often. Richie, you're hired. You're the new Lobo football idea creator.
And then last one, I'll let Sean get you something with some football stuff here. Put concessions on the south side for the older crowd.
Yeah, so I'm glad. I don't know who asked
David
that.
Valdez.
David, thank you so much for asking that. So you may have mentioned this already in the podcast, but obviously we were fortunate to get some capital outlay money from the state this year for planning and improvements in University Stadium. And so one of the things I'm actually going to do at some point here in the near future is I'm going to send out a survey to our fans. I want to hear from them what we can do to improve the stadium. Look, I know there's a lot that needs to be done, but as I walk throughout the stadium and I look around, that's one of the things I notice. Again, we can ask people to come to games all we want, but if we're not doing our part to make it a good experience,
Once I get here.
yeah, exactly. They've got to have a good time. And I'm fanatical about that. And my boss at Texas, my former boss, Chris Delcani, I learned that from him. You know, all the little things matter. People are coming and spending their hard-earned discretionary income to come watch us play. We have to return the favor. And certainly we have limitations with the stadium and the way it's set up or whatever else. But the question was specifically about concessions in the South Side. And my response to that is, we will absolutely consider everything and anything, but I want feedback from our fans because, frankly, this is only the second time I've watched a football game here. I was here for the New Mexico Bowl, and you know, unfortunately, I don't have a.
I was going to say, timing-wise, I guess you weren't here. That's
yeah. So, you know, I need feedback from our fan base, and they're so great about providing that. So we're certainly going to ask, and we'll take it in consideration as we look at the stadium of the future.
There's some new artwork there on the field there.
Yeah.
I will give you. I'll lob up the softball for you and let you tell people about the new little logo down there.
Yeah, so Nucenda's, they're incredible partners. You know, I think you've seen it this day and age, right, where we now have the ability to do this, right, to place logos on our fields and to have a partner like Nucenda and their amazing CEO, Michelle, you know, have belief in what we're doing here at New Mexico and elevating Lobo athletics, but also shared vision in terms of what their mission and their values are at Nucenda aligns very closely with what we believe in here at Lobo Athletics. And so, you know, obviously just really, really fortunate to have a partner like that here, and we couldn't be happier that their name's on our field.
Sean, you got anything?
I think it was a couple months ago you and I were talking. You said like one of your absolute favorite things wherever you were on staff was just going in, sitting in the kind of a coach's meeting and just like, listen to them talk and all that.
Yep.
Have you been able to do that at all with your schedule yet?
You know what? I have a little bit recently. I've actually spent the last two weeks after Eric got settled. I've spent quite a bit of time actually with Jason and Bo, our new general manager, and obviously the transfer portal's open, and as people call it, portal combat.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a lot going on there, and so I've got to scratch that itch a little bit here recently, just talking about the roster construction and looking at NIL and rev share and making sure that we're positioning them well to be successful in this spring portal. And I think what you'll see is, you know, we do have talent. Obviously, there's areas we need to fill, but we're certainly not alone. There's no team coming out of spring ball that says, oh, we're perfect, we're going to prop our feet up and we'll be okay. But I have been able to spend some time recently with Jason and with Bo and really kind of diving into the weeds. And if I can be helpful with given my experience in football, I certainly will. But they don't need much of my help. They're terrific. They know what they're doing, and I'm excited to see the team they put together.
I think from like the outside of the media kind of thought, all right, this is probably going to be a quieter spring portal, most likely. And then all of a sudden the Nico Iamaleava, Tennessee, that bombshell drops. And that's kind of really gripped college football the last week or so too.
Yeah.
And it absolutely blew me away. Tennessee did not have a general manager on staff. And I don't know if they had a director or player personnel either. You talked a little bit about this, but how important is it to have a general manager in this era of college football?
I think it's really important, and to each their own, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that it should be a requirement, but I do think it's very important. I mean, it's so to ask a coach to handle all of the other responsibilities that come with being a head coach, and then to go and talk and negotiate with agents, right? To talk to these individuals, and it just takes an inordinate amount of time. And when you're dealing with resources now that you have to invest and make sure that you're investing the right way, I think you need somebody that is solely focused on that and can devote their full attention to it. Because you talked about the quarterback situation at Tennessee, but really across the board, there's so many players in the portal. that if you miss on an evaluation, that could be devastating for you. And so with the opportunity to be able to go out there and evaluate and recruit those young men in the portal, I think you need somebody that's a subject matter expert and that focuses on that all the time. And I'll tell you, Bo's terrific. Bo coming from Memphis has a really, really good blueprint of what they've been able to do and be very successful there in football. And, him and Jason had never worked together, but in my opinion, just seeing them work, they're in lockstep. And so it's important to have one, but it's even more important to have alignment between that GM and the head coach. And I'll tell Lobo Nation that we certainly have that with Jason and Bo.
I should probably ask either of them. I know that in the past, in the early era of the director of player personnel, and when the GM kind of came in, it still had to be the GM couldn't offer a high school kid. They couldn't offer a portal kid and all that. And I believe Joey McGuire and then the Texas Tech GM, they kind of changed that. McGuire said, hey, you can offer whatever you want. I trust you. I don't have to sign off on all this. Does Bo have that? I don't know. Does he have that ability right now?
Bo's got a lot to say, and that's a good thing. Because I think sometimes, just my experience sitting in the room in my football life, sometimes coaches, they can get really attached to players, and they see the film, and they see the highlights, and they say, "I need that guy." But there's more to it than just what's on the film, and so Bo's able to really dive into it and do a deep dive into all of the other pieces, right, that make a successful player. So I don't want to speak for Coach and say that Bo has final say, but just in my interactions with him, I really, really do think that they've been, productive, and that he does have a lot of autonomy to help build a roster, which is needed this day and age. I see some good questions.
Yeah, we should probably get a couple of these.
All right, this one's been up on the screen for a while. Fernando, I can't help but feel UNM is in prime position to be in a great spot. When it comes to the future in NIL, what would you need from the community to do so?
Well, who's that? Keno?
Keno.
Yeah, Keno, appreciate the question. You're absolutely right. We are in a really good place right now at UNM, and I really appreciate you asking what can the community do, because everything matters. Every dollar counts. And what I will tell you is kind of what I mentioned before. We want to continue to grow our ability to be, towards the top or at the top of the Mountain West in terms of what we're able to provide in an NIL and revenue sharing world. And so showing up to our games. And again, the ownership is on us, right? We need to make sure we're putting a good product on the field and making the experience enjoyable for you. But just showing up to our games, buying tickets, buying season tickets, all of that matters. And when we have that support from the community, it'll help us win games, and then the dominoes start to fall. You win games, and then everything else starts to take care of itself. So we already get so much support and love from our community. And like I said, I feel a really, really big weight on my shoulders to make sure we reciprocate that in terms of what we can provide from an experience to our fans. But showing up, being proud, preaching the gospel of Lobo athletics everywhere you go, the more people we can get involved in supporting us, the better we'll be. And so that's my call to action, is just wherever you are, whatever it is that you might be doing, if you get a chance to come support any of our sports, but we're here in a football stadium right now, but our football program in the fall, every person matters, every dollar counts, and together we can continue to elevate Lobo athletics.
There's a good one here I want to make sure to get before you need to get going, which I do know is during a minute or two. A couple minutes?
I've got a couple more minutes. I'm good, yeah.
JY, I don't know JY. I know you on social media. I don't know what JY stands for.
JY does good stuff. I've seen him post on.
Yeah, and he's a big Mountain West reporter.
Yeah.
So, do you anticipate the Mountain West implementing an NIL floor for all members in the future, like the AAC has done? I don't know if that's something that's been decided, and if it hasn't, are you in favor of it?
Yeah. Terrific question. I do think that there's got to be at some point, some sort of, call it barrier to entry, if you would, right, for an NIL or rev share model, an investment in the conference. We're having active discussions as a conference about what that looks like. I think we're going to be strategic about, how we approach that. I think, the Americans it's been out there that there is a floor there. I don't know if the American conference has actually come out and said it, but there's been some agents and others that have talked about it. And it's the right thing. And that's what we're doing right now as ADs in the conference is, what does it look like for us right? Let's get the good information. Let's get the real information, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and let's see what a barrier entry or floor looks like for us. So I do think at some point you'll see something like that. And the other thing that I thought the AAC did recently, I saw they changed kind of their approach towards basketball units. And I know we're talking about football, but if you earn a unit, right, there's more direct impact to the school that earned the unit. And so, without getting into total specifics, because I don't know everything that was discussed there, I think the point that I would like to leave with is we've got to be creative. What we've done in the past, we can't just say, we'll continue to do that in the future, because we're going into a new age of college athletics. And if it means you get more money if you win, I like that. I like that pressure, right? That puts it on us, and let's go. Let's build it and let's win. And if it means we get more resources because of it, I'm all for it.
You won UNM, and then I'll let you sign off with that, whatever you want to sign off with. Sean Reider's never had a grape. He's never had a grape or a blueberry in his life.
Never had a grape, blueberry, cotton candy.
So, first of all, how weird is he for not having a grape, blueberry, or cotton candy? Also, do you have any?
It's a little different. It was really polite. That was very diplomatic. I give you a lot of credit there. That was really good.
Kind of like the red field.
Although someone did say that Eastern Washington
has the red
you're
field.
right. Yeah. So
how weird is Sean for that? And you can expand on that all you want. Do you have any weird food, things like that you've never once had? Jaylen said his next cup of coffee will be his first. Jaylen has never had
a cup of coffee.
That's what he said.
Wow, that is different. I will tell you, and my wife gives me crap about this all the time. The one thing that I just have never been able to acquire the taste for are marshmallows.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like the consistency
It's
or
a texture thing.
Sean, you are not allowed to respond.
All right.
Okay. No, seriously. Like, my wife loves my kids love marshmallows, and even over the last couple of years, I've made an aggressive attempt to get over my distaste for marshmallows. And as I sit here today, I've yet to figure that out.
What is an aggressive? Are you eating like a marshmallow with every meal?
No, so good question. So the aggressiveness is whenever my family will have marshmallows, which is fairly often because it's a Lobo family favorite. I'll try it. Okay. I've yet to figure it out. So
it's funny. The guy who brought the Lobo name into the family is the one who doesn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. That's maybe one day, but I haven't figured that out yet. So
he's been blueberry picking.
Yeah,
and refused to eat a blueberry because he wanted to be at this
my
farm.
mom, actually, we were back home. We were up at my mom's old house, and she grew up in. She's like, "Yeah, there used to be a blueberry patch right here," and I was like, "Oh my god!"
So what's the issue with blueberries?
I think they're gross. I don't really like fruit that much. I love vegetables. I just don't really like fruit.
Interesting. You'd get along with my little daughter, Layla. She's not a huge blueberry person either. She has, yeah. It's kind of she's tried it. Yeah. So, but I get it. But yeah, marshmallows for me. I just haven't figured that out yet.
We haven't figured it out yet either. There, he's still a reporter. He has to, meet certain criteria. But we want
certain criteria.
The bar is low. But we want some sort of bet of some kind where Lobo football does something. Sean has to eat a grape. But then we also need the other side of it where if Lobo football doesn't do something, and that's when Jaylen said, well, my next cup of coffee will be my first. Maybe it'll be me drinking a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But we got to think this through a little bit. We're going to have Sean. When Sean eats his first grape, it will somehow be on the air or on the stream or whatever.
Yep.
And we got to make a show out of it. An event around it.
We'll have to, at one of Coach X's press conferences during the season, whenever we reach that benchmark, we'll have to have Coach call Sean up, and we'll make a big deal about it. We'll have the cameras there.
The grapes up for Sean.
This has really gone off the rails here right now. I apologize to our listeners.
I want to say too.
You've done all this stuff. It's all over now. That we talked grapes up.
I want to say too, for the listeners at home that have been invested in this saga, I'm open to eting a grape for sure.
Okay, we're making progress
now.
I'm
open to eating cotton candy. I have no interest in a blueberry. This could be a tiered bet. This could really be a tiered bet where the blueberry is the worst case scenario.
Ooh, bowl game blueberry.
Oh, now we're talking.
Bowl game blueberry.
The alliteration works. Bowl game blueberry.
Bowl game blueberry.
I think it's going to work.
Jeff, you just hit it.
Wow.
That's it.
March Madness marshmallow.
I'm in.
Right?
And well,
It have to be like,
but I want
like a bag of marshmallows.
I will do an inordinate amount of marshmallows when we make March Madness again.
March Madness marshmallows. All right. Bowl game blueberries.
Jeff, you're on a roll. You're on
Yeah,
fire.
man.
I like it. I'm gonna get paid big bucks for all this stuff. I know I am. So, hey, Fern, thank you for coming on,
Thanks for
man.
having me, man.
This is something we are going to start doing a lot more regularly, where we actually
Please.
go to the event and have people
That's
on,
awesome.
not just Sean and I. So I appreciate you for doing this. This is a little bit of we told some people, but a little bit of a trial run. But there are 1,300 people that have been watching.
That's awesome.
So I appreciate you for doing it, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. And I said it on your podcast, and I mean this sincerely. The coverage that both you and Sean provide us is top notch. I mean, you guys do a heck of a job reporting. I know Lobo Nation's tuned into what you guys report, and they should be, because you do a great job and you care about us, and we appreciate the platform that you give us. And thanks to all the listeners. And happy to do this again. Just let me know.
Appreciate it. Got to clip that, Sean. We got to clip that.
Yeah, we really should.
Bowl game blueberry.
Thanks, everyone. Man, thanks.
Good seeing you, man.
So there you go. We are now, all right, it's 6:15. We're going to wrap. We're not going to have a very long goodbye here or dismount. I will pass this along. I apologize for putting that on while he was still here, but I will pass it on to Fern as well, JY. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to get deported.
Sean, I don't know why, but you are going to get deported.
Yeah.
According to Jimmy H on YouTube. So
Jimmy H, loyal listener as well too.
Jimmy also was asking about the early arriving crowd.
Can you tilt the camera down a little bit?
Yeah, of course I can.
Yeah.
This is the production value we have here.
That's what you're working with tonight in terms of the early arrival. Well, I mean, not really early. I mean, the game's like 10 minutes, but that is the crowd as of right now. It is windy. That flag is still straight out. I don't know how dusty it is or anything like that, but yeah, that is the crowd. I don't even know what I expected in terms of a crowd this year and all that too, but certainly less than last year. The spring game where you couldn't take photos or videos. And I don't really remember the turnout 2 years ago.
I don't.
But yeah, I don't know. That was on a Monday night too, though, so that was kind of an interesting.
So
one.
is that when they did the weights and stuff too? Didn't they do the champion the like lifting?
Oh no, they did Night of Champions that week. They didn't do it. I don't think they did the same. They might have done that in the past in the earlier
it doesn't make
years.
sense to do that on the spring game day. You wouldn't do a lifting competition of any kind on the spring game day.
No.
So,
yeah,
some of this stuff out of your guys'
unless you're like the Phoenix Suns or something like that,
right? All right. Well, Sean, I appreciate you for doing this as well.
Jeff, thank you. Yeah, I got to lock in the second here.
I get to call it a weekend after in about 2 minutes. I get to call it the whole weekend.
Are there any other questions we need to hit? Any other ones?
There probably were some in there. New helmet should have the UNM lettering on it. We did this one. Sean's going to get deported.
Yeah, I've come to grips with that.
This is a field related. Field.
That's actually a really interesting idea.
Mountains for the end zone. Like actual, like
like the outline.
No, not the outline. I'm saying some actual mountains. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. I think that's about it. There might be a couple more in there, but look, we thank Jackson for coming on. Jackson Eck. We thank Jaylen Dominguez for coming on. Fernando Lobo for coming on. Frank Mercogliano, if he's still around here, for helping us out, getting this rolling. Yeah. And Sean, I thank you. It is a football game, so we're going to close out with Sean telling us, I don't know, 1, 2 things. Make just one thing. What's the one thing that you hope to see tonight? If this team had a good spring, they will do what tonight?
They will run the ball. They will run the football. And I think this defensive line, after being kind of as undermanned as it is, I mean, it's been a depth issue with them all spring. Although there has been some good work by guys like Gabe Lopez, who's now on the inside, probably a permanent move there. Xavier Slayton has done good work. Darren Nagu, he has done some nice work. He's really come on pretty strong lately. It's nothing against those defensive linemen, but it is a thinner group, and I do think, with these running backs, with Scott Trey Humphrey, Damon Bankston, and this offensive line that looks to be in a pretty darn good spot, they should be running the football tonight. So that's, I think that if you're not seeing that, you might be a little bit concerned, but I think you will see that tonight.
Sean, I appreciate it. We're going to do a weekly show. We are going to settle in. I promise you guys, we're going to settle in at some point on a day and time and actually let people know in advance when we're doing this stuff. For now, I can assure you only that there will be a weekly show, and that the Talking Grammar podcast will come out more regularly every week. I don't know how over the summer. I know Sean will during the football season have a weekly football podcast. I don't know how much of that will be connected between spring and work.
Yeah, we're gonna try and have some. More regular podcasts given in the next couple weeks, and given just, the fact that the guys that we want to have on the show are going to have more availability. Okay, so that's something that I've been teasing for a bit. It hasn't quite come together, but it's something that we really want to push for over the next couple weeks.
If you guys get a chance, though, I will do this like I do on my podcast. This is the time you guys can all tune out and say, "Oh, Jeff's doing his thing again."
No.
If you can support local journalism, do it. Little shows like this, even the resources to do stuff like this comes from somewhere, and that includes our employer, the Albuquerque Journal. And if you guys can subscribe to the Albuquerque Journal, it'll do tremendous things to support local journalism in general. ABQJournal.com/subscribe is where you can get to see our digital offers, our print offers, our podcast network, the Albuquerque Journal Podcast Network's up to like 8 or 9 podcasts now.
Yeah.
Lots of products, including a daily news product, daily news, just a 5-minute recap every morning. Not even 5 minutes. I think it's like 3 minutes show every day. The top stories of the day. So look, we're expanding. It's not just that old print product that some people pick up in their driveway anymore. Online, on your phone, on podcasts, on streams like this. We're trying to meet you guys. We're not expecting you guys to find us anymore. We're trying to meet you wherever you guys are, and help us out. If you value some of this content, you could help us out by supporting local journalism, subscribing to the Journal. Sean, thanks for being on.
Jeff, thank you for having us. Since everybody listening back home, thank you for producing our show and giving us a lot of great content tonight.
All right, guys. Until next time, there will be one last thing. Sean's recap of this lively, exciting spring game tonight.
Yes, we'll be back on like deadline too. I got to shake out the rust.
He will be. It will be posted on abqjournal.com later tonight. It will be in tomorrow's print edition, and I'm sure next week he and I, whenever we have our show next week, will certainly do a little bit of a recap and talk about football as well. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of basketball news by then to talk about as well. So there you go, Sean. Until next time,
Jeff. Thank you, man.
Go ahead and hit end stream and actually hit the button.